Welcome back to another edition of First Down Fridays. I'm your co-host, Tucker Moore, joined by my co-host, Johnny Felder. And guys, we are just back for another week. Another big week of games happened this past Saturday, and we are just excited to get into that with you guys here today. So want to go over the games we kind of predicted. Me personally, I went 3-2.
I went 3-1.
Yeah, okay.
I ain't had to
flex on me.
I'm sorry.
But really good games. Excuse me. And a couple of games I got incorrect, but we'll start with one I got correct, and that was Ole Miss and Georgia. This was a great game. Ended up being a lot more high scoring than I thought it would be.
Right.
With Georgia actually winning 43-36. Over Ole Miss, and I definitely thought this would be a little bit more low scoring, despite Ole Miss having such a potent offense.
Right.
With Trinidad Chambliss, he had a decent game. Had some efficiency issues. I believe he was 28-44. One touchdown.
Not too bad.
Had something going on the ground with his legs. Ultimately, though, Gunnar Stockton, he's really emerged, and I say this week after week, really him and Ty Simpson both, kind of lower ranked SEC quarterbacks coming into the year.
Right.
He's really coming to his own. I mean, 26 for 31, incredibly efficient. Around 289 and 4 touchdowns, 0 picks.
Right.
You don't get much better than that.
You can't.
As far as quarterback play goes. So, what did you see in this game that really stood out to you? Besides, obviously, this Georgia offense kind of rolling over their defense.
Well, like we said last week, we really predicted that it was going to be a low scoring game, but whole time it was a high scoring game. But Gunnar Stockton really took over the game more for his offense, more than Trinidad could do in that game, honestly. That's why I feel like there's not too much to say about that. I'm going to agree with you on the Ty Simpson statement, too, with how they both playing in the SEC right now. And I believe that the SEC could come back on a whole run to take over the Big Ten. You never know.
Yeah. That's, debatable as far as which conference is looking stronger right now.
Right.
SEC is certainly very deep. And just a crazy game. You're not used to Georgia getting in these shootout type of games, but
it's very unusual, though.
Looking at this game and them versus Tennessee, Gunnar Stockton must just be the answer to that. But what a great game that was. But moving on, want to get into Vanderbilt and LSU.
Oh, man.
On paper, this may be an upset, but I picked Vanderbilt to win. Certainly,
me too.
Going into this game, looking at them, they were just the better team on paper. I mean, I'm way more impressed with them opposed to LSU, and it went exactly how I thought it would. I believe I predicted about a 28-17 win for Vanderbilt. It ended up being 31-24. Just about what I expected, like I said. Now, what I didn't expect, is Diego Pavia really, and I'll say this, actually, I kind of did expect this historically, or more historically with Brian Kelly at LSU. He has struggled with quarterbacks that run the ball. And,
especially in the NFL, too. I do see that.
Yeah, and they took full advantage of that. Diego Pavia with around 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, just on the ground alone. Throwing the ball, I think he had around 160 and a touchdown. He really just led this offense. That rushing attack was so dynamic. I mean, they're just a really dynamic team, and they showed that.
Right.
And per usual, the LSU offense just can't match, their opponent, for another week. Although Garrett Nussmeier did have a better performance than he has, in the last few weeks. I believe he had 19 for 28, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So an improvement there. But besides Diego Pavia kind of coming out and controlling this game, what stood out to you in that one?
So what really stood out to me about the whole game was more than Diego Pavia. Eli Stowers stood out more to me and more of the offensive players stood out more to me. Also, just what they can do for Diego Pavia, just being his weapon as a whole, just really just coming as a unit just to really try to win this game and just take this upset. And like we said last week, LSU never really seen nothing like Vandy's offense, so it's really going to be hard to stop it. And like you said, once again, Brian Kelly has a hard time with QBs running, so it was really just one of those things. Vandy just came and punched him in the mouth.
Simply put, that's just what happened. But really fun game. Really big fan of this Vanderbilt team. A lot of implications. I mean, looking at their schedule, they're kind of looking. And who would have thought, saying this a few years ago, that Vandy's pushing for a playoff run?
It's crazy.
Insane. I mean, love to see it though. As much as I hate, as a South Carolina fan, watching the little brother succeed so much. Hey, you gotta love it. It's Vanderbilt. They've been the punching bag for long enough. But speaking of South Carolina, I want to get into South Carolina versus Oklahoma. What more can you say? I think I might be done betting on South Carolina. As I said before, I am a South Carolina fan. And watching every play in excruciating detail.
Just like that.
It's not for the weak. It's really not. But getting into this game, the same issues that have plagued them all season just continue to just haunt them.
Right.
Looking at, obviously, the offensive line, with them firing Lonnie Teasley the week prior after their abysmal performance versus LSU. Offensive line still struggled. Sean Elliott came in as an interim coach. Mm-hmm. Look for, hopefully a little fire, get these guys fired up. He's a very fiery guy.
Right.
Didn't expect things to change overnight, though. Mm-hmm. And once again, the play calling.
Abysmal.
What more is there to say? It's just so vanilla, lackluster. Getting to the red zone, 1st and 10. A goal line situation, actually, running up the ball. Run it up the middle, run the ball up the middle 3 times in a row, right into the teeth of the defense.
Like, what are you doing?
It's just infuriating to watch if you're a South Carolina fan. Now, if you're an Oklahoma fan,
now you get to have fun.
You like the way your team played. Their defense is stellar. They have one of the top defenses in the country.
Right.
With Brent Venables, he's always been a defensive-minded guy.
It's been his homecoming also.
Back in Clemson with those elite defenses. So it's not a surprise that they held South Carolina to very minuscule gains from the defensive side of the ball. And then for the offense, John Mateer, I think he's still getting back into the swing of things after coming off of that broken hand injury he dealt with weeks prior. They didn't shock me as far as their offensive production, but ultimately they did enough to, have a 19-point win, almost 20-point win.
Yeah.
Over a South Carolina defense that's not bad. That's really been the only saving grace for this team. While they haven't been exceptional, they've been pretty. They've been pretty solid. To say the most. Solid in comparison to what they have to deal with on the offensive side of the ball. But it was a rough game. I did predict South Carolina to win. I thought,
Me too. I'm sorry. I'm
and eventually, it's one of those things. South Carolina is always going to go and get one of those really unexpected wins, even though they've played like crap for most of the season. I thought it was going to be this one. Apparently not. So that was a rough one. But moving on, want to get into Alabama and Tennessee. This was my other incorrect pick. I did think Tennessee was going to edge out the Crimson Tide, and once again, kind of Ty Simpson and that squad kind of proved me wrong. What stood out to you at this one?
Really, just like we've been saying beforehand, Ty Simpson. It's just like every week he's just always improving. No matter what team he's playing, he's always just improving. And the fact that they're really just playing at home is just so much better. Just home field advantage just really just gives him the most. On the other hand, his receivers and the whole offense, I just really feel like the whole unit just meshed as a whole just to close out the win. But I'm not going to say that they really closed out the win. The interception that was really heard around Tuscaloosa was what really closed it out, and that's what I really had liked about the whole game was just Bama as a whole unit.
Yeah, and not only like you said, not only has Ty Simpson really commanded this offense and led them to a really good production week by week.
Right.
They're also very opportunistic, as you saw with that long pick six. You have to have plays like that to go out and really secure wins, whether it be defensive touchdowns, turnovers, special team scores, stuff like that. And, when you have things like that, it's really hard for a team like Tennessee, who was already struggling offensively, to overcome that when you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot in that way. So it was a little unexpected. I could have definitely seen Alabama winning, which they did. I didn't expect it to be a 20-37 type of game. I thought Tennessee's offense would go out there and put up a little bit more of a fight. But that Alabama defense is certainly –
they really surprised me. I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure. So not too much of a shocker there, but like I said, I did predict Tennessee. But moving on, I want to get into USC and Notre Dame. I did predict Notre Dame to win, and they took down USC 34-24. It's about what I expected. I expected it to be a little more of a shootout. Well, not a shootout, but a back-and-forth scoring affair, which it was.
Right.
And ultimately, Notre Dame's defense stifled them just enough to edge and get that 10-point win. Looking at Jaden Mayava and Mekhi Lemon, still a really good performance from him. Yeah. Really, really impressed by him, week by week. He's a special player. And overall, USC drops their second game of the year, but looking at this Notre Dame team, which they fought back after starting 0-2.
Right.
Granted, they did have really two tough opponents in the first 2 weeks, so it's about what I expected. I expect them to continue to keep it rolling and potentially win out after starting 0-2. Now, we'll see how that goes. It's college football. Anything is subject to happen, but what do you look for? What do you look for this Notre Dame team to continue to do week by week in order to kind of, like I said, win out and potentially make the playoffs?
Just like I said, just really win out all their games. I'm not really too sure about their schedule off the top of my head, but all I just really know is that Marcus Freeman. Yeah. Marcus Freeman and brain fart. Marcus Freeman really has to come through as a head coach and just bring his squad as a unit together and just try to win out the rest of these games as a whole, to be honest. That's all I really have to say. Not too much more to be said about that.
Yeah. And speaking of Marcus Freeman, this is beside the point, but, with that Florida head coaching job opening up, I believe I read a report that he was Florida's first option to try and get him to Florida, and he immediately declined. So he's locked in with Notre Dame, and really excited to see how he continues to build this program. Still a young coach, but he's proving himself to be a very formidable coach in this current climate. But that's all the games we predicted for last week, and really excited to get into this next week of predictions. But before we do that, we're actually going to switch up our format a little bit. Usually we will do our predictions in the next segment, but we're going to switch it up and we're going to do our trivia section.
Yes, sir.
Next, and we're going to bring in some blind rankings and things of that sort. If you're not familiar with that, we'll explain it in the next segment. But make sure to stay tuned in and join us in a moment. Welcome back to First Down Fridays. I'm your co-host, Tucker Moore, joined by Johnny Felder. Now it's time for everybody's favorite segment of the week, debatably. It's fun. We have our trivia section, which it's a little less trivia this week and a little more of a fun type of game, if you will. We're going to do some blind rankings this week.
Right.
And for those of you who don't know, so for an example, our first section, our first blind ranking is going to be SEC teams this year. So what it'll be, I'll bring in 5 SEC teams this year, and I'm going to ask Johnny. I'm going to start with quote unquote whatever team, and he's going to rank them from a scale, or not a scale of 1 to 5, from 1 to 5, but without knowing who's coming next. So that's where the blind ranking comes in. You don't know who's next, so you have to be really careful about where you rank each person or team and whatnot. But I think you guys will understand it as we go on. But really excited for this one. Been wanting to bring this in for a while. So we're going to do this and kind of see how this works. But Are you ready? I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So blind rank these SEC teams this year.
Right.
All right. First team, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. I'm not going to lie this year. They really had some setbacks a little bit this year. I'm going to have to give them like a 4. I'm going to rank them at my 4. Yeah, I'm going to rank them at my 4.
Okay. LSU.
Like I said in the recent episodes or whatnot, I'm really not impressed with LSU's offense or really just intrigued by them as a team as a whole. So I'm going to really just have to rank them at 5.
Okay. We got Missouri.
Mizzou. Now this is really just kind of tricky now. Mizzou. I'm gonna really have to put them at 3. Ahmad Hardy is just one of them ones. There's nothing else to say. Just turn on the tape.
Agreed. At number 4, we have Arkansas.
Arkansas, see, I'm not gonna lie. Arkansas is low-key straight, but see, though, they just don't know how to close out a game. And I'm really just gonna have to kind of switch up my ranking a little bit.
You can't, though. That's the fun of it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put Arkansas at my 2.
You wanna know who your number 1 team is? South Carolina. Oh, yep. So basically, as you see there, the point is I can kind of trip him up and make him have the worst ranking he can possibly have. And you pretty much got it right there.
So, are you serious?
Yeah.
No.
That's the fun of it. You have to be really strategic because you don't know who's coming next.
All right.
You might have thought I would have brought in Alabama or Georgia.
I really thought you would have brought in.
It's a very strategic game. You gotta be very strategic with it. So, all right. So now I have to see if I have a better blind ranking than him.
All right. So SEC teams. All right. Mississippi State.
I'll go 4.
All right. We're gonna go this time. We're gonna go Alabama.
I'll go 1.
You'll go 1.
Yeah. I'd say.
Let's go Florida.
I guess I'd go Florida at 3.
Arkansas.
5.
All right. You want to know who your last team is?
Yeah.
Georgia.
There we go. That's a pretty decent ranking.
It was decent. It was decent for my first try. It's all right. It's all right.
Well,
it's all right.
I mean, it's more so how, I have Georgia at 1, Alabama 2, Florida 3, Mississippi State 4, Arkansas 5. I would probably switch Arkansas and Mississippi State, but overall pretty solid ranking. I'd definitely say I got you on that one, but
all right.
That's the fun of it. You have to be very careful with where you rank every team because, like I said,
I'm ready for this next one.
Yeah. Okay. Now for the next, by the way, we're both going to do 3 different blind rankings. So
factuals.
The next one, we're going to do 2010's quarterbacks.
Is this college football edition?
Yeah, obviously college football, any conference.
Any conference?
Just as long as they're played within 2010 to 2020, they are eligible for this. So.
All right, cool.
All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Taj Boyd.
You don't know something so crazy about Taj Boyd? I know him. Like, I actually personally know him. I went to his camp and everything,
Really?
like handshaking and everything. Like,
Very
I still
cool.
got the picture. But his play as a quarterback, I'm not going to lie.
This is the whole decade. Just think about that.
Yeah, like, this is really just the
But
whole
you don't know if
decade.
who I'm gonna bring in. Sorry, continue.
Let me just... Taj Boyd, this is really hard. I'm going to really have to say, I'm going to have to put Boyd at 4.
Okay,
No disrespect.
it's fine. JT Barrett.
JT Barrett. Dang.
I bet you forgot about him, huh?
No, I did. I really did forget about him, but it's just like all his accolades. It's really just crazy to me. I really just wish he just kind of chose Braxton Miller or something like that. But I'll really just have to give him. I'll have to put him at my 3.
Okay. Connor Shaw.
Connor Shaw is going at my 1 off rip. I'm not going to lie to you. He's at my 1. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it.
Okay. Jalen Hurts.
He's just going at my 2.
Do you want to know who you had at number 5?
No. Time out. Jalen Hurts will be going at my number 5.
No, too late. Too late for all that.
Oh, my
Cam
heart.
Newton is at number 5 for you.
Okay. See, I'm not going to lie to you. I would just switch that out. But
Yeah,
Connor
yeah.
Shaw is just
That's
still at
that's
my
the
1.
fun of it. Obviously, it's blind, but you have to lock it in whenever you make your pick. That is final. So
That is final.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
Go.
Now your turn. Got to get a better ranking than that. So let's
All
see.
right. Kenny Stills.
This is quarterbacks, right? Mm-hmm. I'll go 5.
5 for Kenny Stills. Tate Martell.
4. Oh god.
All right, we're gonna go now. Let's go Braxton Miller.
3.
3. The disrespect. Okay, let's go Cardale Jones.
2.
2. Devin Gardner.
Okay. Number 1. That was the round of the mid right there.
I know. I just wanted to give you just straight mid and just see how you was just gonna rank him.
Yeah, I mean,
But Braxton Miller mid though, that's crazy.
I mean, when you look at it, I mean, he was talented. I mean, he switched to wide receiver though.
Yeah, I give him that. But like whenever he was at quarterback though, like he was just unstoppable.
He was electric.
Yeah.
So I'd say, I don't know as far as that round.
I just wanted to just give you the mid.
Yeah. I got you. But moving on for our last section, we're going to do college football coaches, current college football coaches.
Okay.
And I'm going to have you rank them. So, all right, first one, Deion Sanders.
Prime. I'm not gonna lie about Prime. Prime really got a whole lot of accolades. I'm not just gonna talk about just college football standpoint. Just like an HBCU standpoint, when you really just think about it, he really just brought Jackson State back up to life and just really just kind of just bring HBCUs on their feet as a whole. I'll say that. I'm not really going to say that he's the end all for it, but like he's just one of the many factors. But I'll just say like as a head coach though, I'll have to rank Prime at 3.
Okay. Lane Kiffin.
3. There's nothing else to say.
You put.
4.
Okay. Dabo Sweeney.
Dabo Sweeney, I'll put him at 5.
Okay. Dan Lanning.
2.
And then you have Kirby Smart at number 1. So not a bad ranking.
Not bad.
The only thing I'd say is like it's more so the coaches themselves, not necessarily just this year. So the Dabo at 5 is kind of crazy, but Other than that, if
have my
we're going just
reasons.
off of this year, okay, that's fair. But
I have my reasons.
I got you. That's fair. But okay, now yours.
So my head coaches, I'll say Jimbo Fisher.
It's a good one. I go 3.
3.
Yeah.
What about Steve Sarkisian?
Guess I go 2.
You'll go 2. All right, James Franklin.
4.
Kirby Smart.
1.
All right, you want to know who your last one is? This is just, I'm going to just be real. It's just kind of mid. Who is it? Mike Norvell.
Okay.
He's just,
I'd say that was perfect. That was
Like-
a pretty perfect ranking.
yeah, like to me, like this year, like I said, Florida State just really just kind of just shocked the world, and they just mid.
Oh yeah, but that was fun. Had a lot of fun with that.
I'm not gonna lie, we need to do that again.
Yeah,
You really sauced me up with that, with those questions.
Yeah, I think we might bring in a variation of that next week. But that's gonna do it for our trivia section. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you guys would like this for next week, drop a comment down below and let us know which categories you would like as far as the blind ranking goes. But that's going to do it. Next, we're going to go ahead and get into our predictions for this week. We have a great slate of games for you guys, and excited to get to those. But join us in a moment. Welcome back to First Down Fridays. I'm your co-host Tucker Moore, joined by Johnny Felder.
Yes, sir.
And now we're going to get into our predictions and score predictions for this week's slate of games. We brought in 5 really big and fun games for you guys this week, and excited to get into this and see how we do this week as far as predictions go. But want to start off with going over Ole Miss and Oklahoma.
Right.
This is a really intriguing game. You know, looking at these two teams, both have really capable and talented quarterbacks. John Mateer, he's been kind of coming back from his injury he sustained in the first couple weeks of the year. You know, early Heisman favorite for most. And Ole Miss, they've really, with Austin Simmons still being out, you know, for most of the year at this point, you know, Trinidad Chambliss has really stepped into that role and led this team effectively. So, most wouldn't have thought Ole Miss would still be undefeated by this, or not undefeated, almost undefeated after they lost to Georgia last week. But in the position that they are, either way, both of these teams being 5-1, you know, coming into this game. This game has really big playoff implications and even SEC championship implications.
Right.
You know, as they look to kind of edge each other out in this game. So what stands out in this game? Who has the biggest key player on either side in order to kind of go out and control and win this game?
So I'm a low-key kind of switch it on to low-key being a defensive game this time for both teams, because surprisingly their defense has really stepped up this season. But also answer your question, my players for both teams that are really going to come out are really Trinidad Chambliss, and I'm really high on John Mateer this week, but I'm not really just too shabby on him. I'm really just going to, like I said, just take it easy on him just because he's coming back from his injury and stuff. But I really just feel like those two are really just going to go out there and just going just to do what they've been doing. But other than that, though, I really feel like Ole Miss really has it in their bag, and I really feel like it's a defensive game, and it's going to be a low-scoring game. I'll say 20-14 at most.
Okay. I see that, yeah. And who'd you predict in that one?
Ole Miss.
Okay. In this game, I'm looking at this one. You know, I think overall this Oklahoma defense, like I said previously, one of the best, if not maybe the best in the country, statistically speaking.
Right.
And looking at this game, while yes, Ole Miss does have one of the most high-flying, high-powered offenses in the country, you see that week by week. I think the edge in this game goes to the Oklahoma defense. I think they're going to do enough to stifle what Trinidad Chambliss and Lane Kiffin and that offense are wanting to do.
Right.
I think they fly around, they're versatile, they're fast, they cover well, and they have some really exotic blitz packages, and they can do everything you need to do for a defense to be successful, under Brent Venables. So
I really like that.
And on the flip side, I trust John Mateer a little more, just being the way that he's played, although he is still kind of harboring that injury and hasn't played incredibly well over the last few weeks.
Right.
I believe he is the better quarterback, and I believe overall with John Mateer at the helm and also this Oklahoma defense, I do have Oklahoma winning this game. And I don't think it'll be a super low scoring. I think it'll be around a 30-24 type of game. And I do see Oklahoma winning this game.
All right, that's respectable. I really like your prediction about Oklahoma, especially with their defense, just as a whole, just being ranked number one. I really just didn't do my homework like that on Oklahoma's defense, and I'll just be real like that. You can just count my bluff like that.
That's fine, but I'm sure you'll be able to see it in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up, and you saw it last week versus South Carolina. Which. Getting into that, I want to talk about South Carolina and Alabama. What more is there to say about this one? This is a lopsided matchup at best. We look at, Alabama, number 4 in the country, continuing to roll. They're on a 6-game winning streak after losing their opening matchup to FSU. And what more is to say about this? I think they outmatched South Carolina in almost every category, whether it be quarterback play this year, as much as I hate to say it.
Right.
Lenore Sellers coming into the year was, a consensus top 5 quarterback in the nation, if not top, quarterback in the entire SEC.
Right.
Whether it be play calling, just execution, offensive line, it's not all on him, but he hasn't had the year that anybody thought he would. It's been very disappointing overall for South Carolina, but a guy like Ty Simpson, who was not projected to come in and do much or projected to be one of the top guys, he is, I believe he has an 18-1 touchdown interception ratio.
That's crazy.
That's diabolical.
That's insane.
It's a great, the numbers speak for themselves in that regard. Alabama's just the more talented team overall. Their offense, with Caden Proctor on the offensive line, him alone, that matchup between him and Dylan Stewart should be fun. I think they're just outnumbered and outmanned in every way, and I'll just keep it short. I don't see South Carolina vastly changing up any of the deficiencies that they've had this year, whether it be, like I said, offensive line, play calling, consistency, moving the ball. I don't see them all of a sudden switching up and coming out and putting up points and putting up yards on this defense. So
right.
I'll put it lightly. I have Alabama by probably a fairly wide margin. I'd go 38-10. They haven't really given me much to hope for or be confident in them, being able to do it. So that's what I have.
No, like I said, I definitely agree with you. I need to hire you to be my speaker at this point because you really just have spoke everything for me. There's really nothing much more to be said in this game as a whole. Alabama is really about to come in a rude awakening and disrupt South Carolina's homecoming this weekend and just tear down Columbia, as Alabama is going to get it done. Like he said, 34-10. I'm really just going to hop on your bandwagon. That's what I'm just feeling like. I really like Ty Simpson as a whole. But Lenore Sellers, last week against Oklahoma, it was 36 or 38 sacks that he got against the Oklahoma defense, like, you're getting your quarterback killed back there.
Yeah.
A generational one at that.
Yeah, and that's one of the most disappointing parts of it is, as I mentioned many times, I am a South Carolina fan, so I hope my prediction is incorrect. I hope maybe
Me too.
They come out and, Lenore Sellers is Superman and Mike Shula turns into Ben Johnson, as far as calling plays. I don't know. But that's my prediction. I don't really see it going any other way than that. But moving on, I want to get into Missouri and Vanderbilt. This is a really big one. I'm really excited for this because these are two of the, year by year or in the past, usually these are two of the more bottom feeder teams. I know most definitely Vanderbilt.
Right.
Over the last few years, Eli Drinkowitz has built up this Missouri program, and they have been quality for the last few years now. But, these are two teams that aren't really always talked about in the same light as the Georgias and Floridas and Alabamas and Tennessees and Texas and Texas A&M, to name every single team. But,
right.
But, and these are two teams that, are coming into this game, have one loss apiece. A team like Vanderbilt who came in and beat LSU last week, something like that years ago, like I mentioned before, is unheard of. Vanderbilt doesn't do that.
They don't.
They don't do that. But now they do under Clark Lee, and I'm really excited for this. These are two revitalized programs as far as I'm concerned. This is just such an intriguing matchup. You've got two teams that really love to pound the ball down your throat.
It's facts.
And it's gonna be a slugfest. Like, I don't mean that in a way of it's gonna be a slog, like it's gonna be slow and whatever. I just think they're really both gonna ground and pound all day. Whether it be Vanderbilt kind of misdirecting like they always do. They have a lot of misdirecting motions and different types of screens they do. Whether it be that and then getting Diego Pavia out of the pocket, getting him out of the pocket and scrambling, or design QB runs or pitches, whatever. He does a lot of crazy things.
Right.
Whether it's that or just Missouri just pounding you with the outside zone run with Ahmad Hardy, as they do so well versus every team. Everybody knows it's coming, but you can't stop it because their offensive line play is so good. Their schemes are so good. At the end of the day, I do chalk this one up to, kind of how I did with the Oklahoma and Ole Miss game. Who is the biggest factor in this game? Who's the biggest key player for each team? And head-to-head, what do you think would happen? And I would go with Bo Prabula and Diego Pavia. And I think I trust Diego Pavia more. I think he's more dynamic. While I do think he's a much more of a risk taker, and at times you see that backfire, I do think his big playability is there. He's creative.
Right.
He doesn't ever give up on the play, which, like I said, sometimes to his detriment. But I would give Vanderbilt the edge in this one. I do think they're the slightly better team, but I am really excited to see how Missouri, and not to mention Missouri has a really good defense. They have a great defensive line.
Facts.
Really excited to see how they scheme up and plan for Diego Pavia. But I would go with, Vanderbilt. I'd go with a 24-20 type of game. Like I said, I think it'll be a really close game. I could see it going either way. Missouri could most definitely come out and prove me wrong, but I'm going to go with Vanderbilt on this one.
Well, this game right here is really one of my game of the weeks. It's really just like you said, it's really just one of those slugfests. Not really just too sloppy. It's really just going to be one of those clean games that the teams is really just going to be pounding it down each other's throats, and who knows who's going to win. It's really just one of those games. But my top players for this game, I'm going to really have to go different for this game here. Number one is Bo Prabula for number one. And then Ahmad Hardy, obviously. And then I'm going to have to go different on Vandy's side. I'm going to have to go Diego Pavia and Alex Sherrill. And that's a really good one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to really just say that I really feel like it's going to be one of his games to really just put him out there, really one of his games just to shine. But all in all, though, I'm going to really just have to give it to Vandy, and I'm going to really just have to give it like a 24-17 type of game. But it's really just going to be one of those games like, who knows who could win, but I'm going to really just have to give it to Vandy for this one.
Yeah. Regardless of the outcome, I think we're both really excited for this one. Two very evenly matched teams, and all, with them being, this is a huge SEC matchup. A lot of big conference implications in the SEC this week.
Especially playoffs, too.
Yeah, playoffs as well, obviously. But, games like these can really shape how you finish out the year. So very excited for this one. But moving on, outside of the SEC, I want to get into Arizona State versus Houston. Now, looking at Arizona State, I guess you could say they've had a bit of a disappointing season. Some might say after making the playoffs last year, which they had, Cam Scadaboo and Sam Levitt, which they have Sam Levitt back.
Yeah.
Either way, this is still a really good team. They're number 24 in the country. Kenny Dillingham is a great young coach, I think. I think he's one of the best up-and-coming type of rising coaches, which Arizona State has to be careful about. Teams like Florida, Penn State potentially going after him. But looking at this game, I don't have too many notes for this one. As far as Houston, they're offensively, they've been pretty impressive.
I was about to say.
They've been really impressive. They haven't quite had a crazy season this year, but overall, I think I'm just going to go with Arizona State. I think they have more firepower. I think they're more well coached. And overall, I just think they're more talented. I'm going to go Arizona State. Give me Arizona State 35, Houston 24, something like that.
I'm not going to lie. I really like your prediction for this game also. But however, though, I really look at Houston's side. I really like their offense. Connor Wigman really had transferred out of Texas A&M as a whole and just pretty much just left that program in the dust. But Texas A&M is moving on to bigger and better things pretty much. But he's really on Houston. I really like him more than Sam Levitt, to be honest. But with that being said, there's really not too much I really want to say about this game. Like I said, both head coaches are really young and are really electrifying. But with that being said, I really have Houston going for the upset. And with that being said, I really have it going 31-21 type of game. That's what I really feel like.
That's a fair prediction, I won't lie, I'm not as knowledgeable about either team, but from what I've seen, I've dug into the stats and things like that. I could definitely see it going either way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a game I'm too passionate about. I don't think it's two, really talented teams, but, excited to see regardless how that one turns out. But moving on to our last game of the week, we have number 3 Texas A&M taking on number 20 LSU. Now, I want to get into this one with, I think LSU is going to come out and shock some people. I think they are in desperation mode right now. I think Brian Kelly's in desperation mode. I don't think he can afford another year of or failing to meet expectations, missing the playoffs. And, with another loss, they would probably be out of the playoff hunt altogether. Looking at last week, despite the loss to Vanderbilt, I think Garrett Nussmeier played a lot better. I think their offense had some good looks, got some things going, despite ultimately putting up 24 points in the SEC isn't always going to be enough. Rarely is it ever going to be enough. Their offense has mightily struggled throughout the year, but I look at this team and I look at their defense. They have an elite defense. They really, despite, they kind of got carved up a little bit by Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt, but what team honestly hasn't? They're very dynamic. They give you a lot of misdirection, a lot of crazy looks, so I don't fault them for that. Looking at this game, and, I'm also looking at this Texas A&M offense. They've had multiple games where they've struggled to put up points.
I was about to say.
They've had some low-scoring outs. I think their defense is really good as well. They a lot of games, like I said, they've struggled to put up points. And I see this sputtering and all this stuff, and I look at LSU's desperation this week, and I do see their defense kind of locking down on them, and especially with Garrett Nussmeier playing better, I think I have them upsetting Texas A&M, actually. As much flack as I give LSU and Brian Kelly and this team for how poor they've been this year, something in my gut just tells me this is a good matchup for them. I think it just matches up well with how elite, like I said, their defense is, and how Texas A&M's offense has sputtered a bit. And, Texas A&M, they have a good enough defense, but they're not elite, certainly, on defense. So I do actually have LSU with the upset,
Wow.
I'm really excited to see it. Like I said, something in my gut just kind of tells me, that's the way to go. So I would have LSU winning, I want to put it at I want to give it a 17-10 type of game.
I'm not gonna lie. I really like your prediction. It's really a good prediction, and I'm gonna really have to honestly say that it's really going to be a really big defensive game for both defenses. But I really feel like Texas A&M is really just going to come out with a whole advantage, and I really just, like I said, no disrespect to them. Their offense really just kind of low-key was kind of struggling, but I really believe that they can really just make it up this game against LSU. And I really feel like LSU is going to put up a fight. No disrespect to Garrett Nussmeier or whatnot. He's going to put up numbers this game, no doubt about it. But with that being said, I really have Texas A&M taking this game. I really have to say 24-17 type of game. That's why I really feel like it's really just going to be a defensive type of game for me. It's just one of those big games for me.
Yeah. I mean, I could certainly see, Texas A&M making me look foolish, or LSU making me look foolish, by betting on them. But, I just have an inkling that, while they have struggled so much on offense, this is just a good matchup, I feel like, for their strengths and also to kind of hide their weaknesses a little bit. And, desperation can do some crazy things, as we see week to week, as far as Brian Kelly potentially not living up to expectations and being on the hot seat, but, we'll see how this goes. But that's going to do it for this week's predictions. Really, really excited for this week's games, as we always are. And we will get back to you guys next week with, obviously, the recaps of those and whatnot. But moving on, want to get into, for our final segment, it's time for our Newberry predictions and how we think this is going to go as they, going into this game, they catapulted themselves into number one in the SAC. They sit at 5-1, and this week they're going to take on Emory and Henry, who is in second in the SAC standings. What are you looking for in this game? How big of a game is this for this Newberry team, and how do you expect them to go out and get this win?
I really feel like this is really going to be one of those big games for Newberry. Not only are they ranked number 24 in the nation, I really feel like they have a whole lot of firepower this season. They have a whole lot to prove, especially like I said from last season. But this season alone, it was really just one of those magical seasons. One of my players that I really just like to highlight this year is just Keith Desisher. He's just been getting the rock a whole lot of times and just really just been, just coming through in the clutch for his team. But the whole offense and the whole defense as a whole just really just came through as a whole unit and just meshed together and just really just pretty much just shocked the world this week. And I'm not going to lie, they're really just going to go ahead and just continue to shock the world. And they're going to go to Emory and Henry and shock the world again. And they're going to go higher in rankings. That's what I believe.
Can't wait to see it. I do have Newberry winning this game. Hopefully they go out and get a big win, and that would pretty firmly put them, with the rest of their schedule, the way the rest of their schedule looks, I could see them definitely clinching that number one seed in the conference standings. But that is going to do it for this edition of First Down Fridays. I'm your co-host, Tucker Moore, joined by Johnny Felder, and join us next week for our newest edition of First Down Friday.